on YouTube? Langdon here with Arch Films, and we got another movie to talk about. Tenet is directed by Christopher Nolan, starring John David Washington, Robert Pattinson, and Kenneth Branagh. This is a very difficult movie to talk about without spoilers, but I assure you this review will be spoiler-free. For a brief synopsis, this is about all I can tell you. Everything that I'm about to tell you, you find out within the first 10 minutes of the movie, so nothing major here. Technology exists that can invert the flow of time for objects so that they can flow backwards in time. There is an organization called TENET that is aware of this. They do things about it. That's about all I can tell you without spoiling things. So let's start off with the good things. This is Christopher Nolan being the most Christopher Nolan that he's been in a while. He has always had an element of playing around with time in his movies, and that is obviously taken to the extreme and the most literal with the concept for this movie. I find that the concept is believable. It's executed very well in the movie in ways that are interesting and fun and mind-jarring that take you a little while to figure out, but it made the movie very entertaining for sure. Also, I thought the soundtrack was excellent. You can definitely hear the idea of time plays into the soundtrack a lot as well. There's some moments where your perspective shifts, and along with your perspective shifting, the music reverses, which is pretty cool. Also, Christopher Nolan is obsessive about shooting things in camera. That is abundantly true here. I, looking as hard as I could, had a very difficult time spotting any CGI. All of the reverse time stuff in this movie was shot going forwards and then reversed, and then layering some of those different shots together. And it was very cool and very well done. And I think this movie is going to age really well because Christopher Nolan is so obsessive about that. That's been true of all of his movies, definitely, but it really stood out to me here as being particularly effective. John David Washington is fantastic. I really enjoyed his performance, and I think this one really proves him to really be a really compelling action star in the future. He's in all of the fight choreography that he's in. I don't know about if he does his own stunt work or his own fight choreography or anything like that. However, just with the way that he carries himself and the way that the choreography was executed, he's very explosive, he's very visceral, and he has a lot of swagger. And it's really fun to watch him just do things in this movie. Also, Robert Pattinson is really great. This dude is really coming on strong right now. He's been in a bunch of big movies. If you're not paying attention to him right now, you should be. He's killing it. He is great as Neil in this movie. The dynamic between Pattinson and Washington is fantastic throughout the whole movie. They have a great rapport and camaraderie throughout the whole thing, and it was really enjoyable watching them work together and think through things together. A lot of people have been highly praising this movie, and I think a lot of that is because it's action-packed, it makes you think, big bombastic soundtrack, all of these things that are iconic Christopher Nolan, really great elements of the movie. But the movie is not perfect. As I've been talking about all of these positives in the movie, I just want to reiterate that the movie is very enjoyable and very fun to watch, and you're gonna walk away from it smiling, period. However, I do have some criticisms, so I'm going to talk about those now. The biggest criticism that I have with this movie actually stems from the concept. I feel like it relies too heavily on this concept. Because of that, kind of foregoes one or two key principles of good filmmaking. One of those is the principle of show, don't tell. I find that in the kind of opening act of this movie, you're not necessarily getting exposition dumped on you because it's not boring. So there's not a pacing issue with it, but it is so complex and really difficult to follow. And it's talking about these complex events and emotions and interactions between characters that are all happening off screen that you're not really seeing. And it does come full circle, so it makes sense at the end somewhat, but I found that the movie was sometimes very difficult to follow. And I'm a pretty smart guy. I love movies that make me think. I love digging into movies and really paying attention and trying to notice details and all of those kinds of things. But I had a really hard time following this movie. I can appreciate a detailed movie where you're getting more and more things with each viewing. Christopher Nolan's previous movies are like that. You catch more and more things each time, kind of once you know how things resolve, and then more and more you see how things fit together. And I think that's cool. However, I saw this movie twice in theaters, and there are still a couple of major plot points that don't make sense. Like why they're in a certain location for a certain really big event in the story. I still am not really sure why they were there or what led them to be there. After 2 viewings, getting more details is fine, but still missing major plot points after paying really close attention for 2 viewings, it's not really acceptable in terms of good story writing. And I think a lot of that has happened because there's a lot of plot and a lot of concept things that have to be explained for things to make sense. And I think there wasn't enough space for him to do it. Let me look up the actual runtime. Yeah, okay, so it says runtime is 2 hours and 30 minutes. It felt like that. It's a pretty big, epic movie. It needed another half hour because there is never space to breathe. It's just constant information and constant plot and constant concept things. I wanted some more good character moments. I wanted some more good dialogue. So yeah, that's kind of my biggest criticism is the movie feels bloated with all of the things that it's trying to throw at you, and there's not really enough space for it. And then also on top of this movie being hard to follow because it's throwing so much at you so fast, I found that the sound mixing didn't really help with that very much. And it wasn't necessarily interference of the soundtrack. The soundtrack wasn't too big in moments where you had to pay attention, but it was interesting because it was kind of like ambient noise on a couple of occasions that would interfere with conversations and make it a little bit more difficult to understand. And that jumped out to me on both of my viewings of this movie. So I think the dialogue needs to be pushed forward in the sound mix a little bit, and that kind of would have helped with understanding what's going on. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Tenet. Overall, I do think this movie was really enjoyable. Good action scenes, great music, great acting. I do think it was bloated, and it relied really heavily on concept, and so there wasn't enough good moments for character and enough moments to breathe and take in what was happening. It was really full throttle the whole time. So with those things being said, I'm going to give Tenet a rock solid. So yeah, I highly encourage you to go see Tenet. It's super enjoyable. It's a lot of fun. And I love trying to dissect the movie as you're going through. It's very engaging that way. So I did enjoy that. I highly recommend you go support this movie. I personally really want theaters to be reopening. I got to see this in theaters and it was so much fun to be able to go back. So if you're comfortable going to see movies right now, please do and support this art form right now. If we want to continue to go to the movies after this in the age of streaming, we have to support them when they come out. So please go see this movie. It's really good and it's worth your money. So yeah, that's going to be it for this one. Please like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think of Tenet and let me know what you want me to review next. As of the day that I'm filming this, the Dune trailer drops tomorrow. So I will be filming a reaction for that tomorrow. When I watch the trailer, you will get my live reaction, and that'll be coming out later this week, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, that's it for this one. Peace.